Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Unsank Podcast, the podcast that's all about staying afloat in the rocky waters of life. I'm your host, Lex, and today I want to tell my personal journey of domestic violence and why I am starting this podcast. It's a crazy story, so let's dive right in. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Unsank Podcast, the podcast that's all about staying afloat in the rocky waters of life. I'm your host, Lex, and I'm here to help you overcome whatever life throws your way. Each episode, we'll be discussing a new topic, from healing trauma to building confidence and rising above the waves, all with the goal of helping you become the badass you were always meant to be. So, if you're ready to take control of your life, then Unsank Pod is the podcast for you. Now, let's dive right in because we have some sailing to do. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Unsank Podcast. I want to start by telling my story and getting into why I am starting this podcast. So, back in March of 2018, I met a house DJ at an underground warehouse in Phoenix, Arizona. And he DJ'd my birthday party and we started talking. I fell in love with him very quickly and we started dating. And he had a clothing brand called Sushi Gang, and I started helping him with that and building it into a brand. And yeah, it was really amazing and magical. I mean, he was playing shows. We were getting VIP everywhere, getting into any club. Girls were coming up to me in bathrooms being like, "Oh my God, is that your boyfriend? Is that your clothing brand?" Like, it was really cool, especially for me because I was bullied a lot as a child. And so to be finally like popular or cool or whatever was like really special for me. And he made me feel special in the beginning. We would go out to fancy restaurants, we'd always go shopping. I was living the quote unquote dream. You know, everything was magic and he was magic and the whole thing was just, insane. And slowly over time, it became less amazing. We were moving around a lot. We lived in the warehouse for a little bit and then moved around and lived with some friends and whatnot. And he started getting annoyed with me about little things and being verbally abusive. We were getting fights in front of people, in front of managers, and, it was just not looking good. And of course, I was being blamed for everything. Everything was my fault, of course, and it just slowly got worse and worse. And finally, I remember we were living in Gilbert at the time, and he hit me, like slapped me across the face. And I just remember not really knowing what to do about the situation and just kind of like letting it rest for a bit until I decided what I was going to do and, hoping, oh, maybe it's a one-time thing and just kind of giving it a pass, you know. And time went on, more slapping occurred, more verbal abuse, just terrible things. He literally said to me at one point, I think of the meanest thing that I can say in any moment, and then I say it. So there was that. And I just kept living and continuing on and working. I was working at a salon at the time doing hair. And so I would go to his shows, go to the after party, stay up all night and then go to work the next morning and come home, we'd get into fights, and yeah, that continued on like that for good few months until around my birthday when he gave me a black eye 3 days before my birthday. Um we were fighting about I don't know what, you know. It could have been anything. I don't really know. I know I said the word no. I was crying in the bed and pulled the comforter over my head, and then I remember feeling like everything went black and feeling pain and pulling the comforter over my head, and there was blood because my nose was bleeding, and just being like, what the fuck? And then realizing he had punched me in the face. And yeah, um, probably one of the most horrific moments of my life. Um, and I was crying and screaming and not okay. Um, and he ended up holding me and trying to calm me down, and I eventually did calm down and took some ibuprofen and went to sleep and tried to get up for work the next morning, and tried to put on makeup and couldn't stop crying because every time I looked at myself in the mirror, I cried. Um, so I took my makeup to work that day, trying to do it. I was like, I'll just do it at work, and I can get through this. I can do this. I can push through. I can go to work. It'll be fine. Um, and I couldn't put makeup on my face. I couldn't pull it together. There was really no pulling it together. And so I went home. I remember he asked me to pick up bagels on the way home from work because I left early. And I remember thinking that everyone in Einstein's was staring at me and they all knew what happened, which obviously wasn't the case, but that's how it felt in the moment. And I remember going home and eating bagels in bed and not really talking about it, you know, just kind of like avoiding the situation because, you know, what can really be said after something like that? Um, and so after that, like we're fighting more. I remember he tried to make up for it by taking me out to a steak dinner. He spoiled me on my birthday, took me shopping, and it was a really nice time. Don't get me wrong. It was nice. But it doesn't make up for a black eye. So there's that. Um, yeah. So I got spoiled on my birthday. He's apologizing and he'll never do it again, blah, blah, blah. I love him at this, like I am so fully just trauma bonded at this point from all the moving and the partying and being exposed to this entirely new lifestyle that I didn't want to leave him. That was like my person. He was also my like safety. If we went out to clubs, he'd make sure no one messed with me. He kept me safe as much as he harmed me. So I didn't want to leave. And I just hoped that it was the last time, like maybe that was it. Like, hopefully he means what he says. And time goes on. Fast forward to June of that year, June of 2019. And I was supposed to go visit my mom for her birthday in California. And the day I was supposed to leave, he was asking me if I had filled out job applications and stuff because I'd lost my job because I was late for work because I just stopped caring after that. Um, and so I was trying to fill out job applications to get a new job, and he'd found out I hadn't filled out one of the applications and started beating me with my phone and kicking me and just basically beat the crap out of me, you know, um, just bruised my body. And I went home to my parents that day, got on the plane, went home to California, got home, and was limping. And, of course, my parents were like, "Why are you limping?" And I was like, "Oh, I was at a party and I got drunk and I fell. And that's why I'm limping." And they were like, suspicious, but kind of, weren't pushing it right away. And so time goes on. We celebrate my mom's birthday and all that. And then she's like, "How did it really happen?" She pushed me a little bit further after that. And I told her finally that, yes, he hit me and that's why I'm limping. And um, so she decided, and I decided that I was going to stay in California for as long as I needed to heal. I got clean from drugs. It was my time to really reevaluate and heal and worry about myself. And so I went no contact. I stopped talking to him the whole 9 yards, didn't talk to anyone for months, and just started working out, started meditating, um, started getting into self help books and authors like Gabrielle Bernstein, Mel Robbins, all that kind of stuff, and just really took a look at my life and, tried to, you know, undo the trauma that had been done to me. And I was healing and I was doing a great job, like I was finally feeling normal again. And as one does, when you're stuck in a house with your parents, I got bored. And so I eventually started talking to my ex again. And, I started missing him and, you know, all that kind of stuff. Started thinking about the past and started talking to him again. So he had told me that he had moved up to Ashland, Oregon, and that he had a job up there. And so his boss at the time flew me up to Ashland, and I left my parents' house and moved to Ashland, Oregon at the end of 2019. So I moved to Ashland. We moved into this house, and we're trying to work for this guy and promote his business and do, like what he's asked of us. And um then the owner of the business decides he wants to sell his house, and we moved to a hotel in Talent, Oregon. And then COVID struck after that, and I was working cleaning the hotels to keep a roof over our heads. And we'd stopped working for that guy at that point, and I was cleaning the hotel to give us a place to stay. During that time, the abuse started getting bad again. The verbal abuse started. All of the bad patterns from the past started creeping in, and I realized that things had not changed. And it wasn't the drugs, and it wasn't any of the things I thought it was. It was just the fact that he was abusive. And so the cycle of abuse had started again, and I was just doing anything that I could to keep my head above water at that point. Going through a pandemic and abuse and being in a hotel in a state that's foreign was crazy. After a period of time, I had secured another job working at a hotel in Ashland, and I was working overnight doing night audit for them. So that at least got me away from the hotel, away from him for a period of time, and I could secure actual money and an actual income for us to have to secure food and anything we needed, and not just, you know, In September of 2020, a fire struck Talent, and we had to move into a hotel in Ashland. During that time, the abuse got worse. I had hoped that because of the fire and because we had a new hotel and that we were living in a better, more secure place, that things would get better. But unfortunately, they only got worse. The physical abuse started again. He was hitting me, he was beating me, he was being just cruel to me and screaming at me. And, you know, in January of 2021, the violence escalated to him threatening my life. He said, if you don't get the fuck out right now, I'm going to kill you. And not wanting to take that bet, I made a plan that night to leave. And the next morning after work, I called the police and had him arrested. I got my stuff out. I moved to a new hotel. I got a restraining order. I went completely no contact, blocked him on everything. Um, the police let him out later that night, and he left me alone for a period of time until one night when he came in at 3 in the morning and told me that he was staying across the street in another hotel and that he had been watching me every time I left my hotel. This only made my PTSD worse, and I had to quit my job because I couldn't go into the hotel without having a panic attack, or even think about going back into the hotel without having a panic attack. After that, I switched jobs a couple more times until I landed on my current job and started my healing journey. I started working out every morning. I quit drinking for a period of time. I started eating healthy and focusing on my mental health. I started journaling, taking massive steps to improve my PTSD and my mental health. I started researching PTSD. I started researching healing options. I started researching therapy. I started researching narcissism and just gaining any information I could on why I felt the way I felt and what I needed to do to stop feeling the way that I felt and stop having breakdowns and stop freaking out and stop feeling like I had to constantly look over my shoulder. I lost 50 pounds. I started gaining more confidence. I started healing. I started feeling like myself again and just really focusing on rebuilding myself and my mental state and finding myself again after being broken down to nothing and remembering who I was and like what my interests were, like what I enjoyed doing by myself that I wasn't allowed to do for so long. And like, because when you're in an abusive relationship, you're so controlled and so micromanaged and so disciplined that over a period of time, you don't even know what you like anymore. Like, is that what they like or is that what you actually like? And so I set out on a journey to find myself again. Um, I started taking care of myself. I started posting more on social media again and just showing off my new body that I worked so hard on and um just feeling like myself again. I started going out again. I met some friends and they gave me a DJ controller and I am learning how to DJ and using that as part of my healing journey because from the research that I've done, I've learned that dance and music are healing modalities that if you move your body, you can move trauma out of your body through somatic healing. And that was like a really cool thing for me to learn and be able to incorporate into my healing journey. After focusing on my healing journey and building my confidence, I started focusing on what I could do to help others that also have been affected by trauma as well. And that's why I'm starting Unsank Co. and the Unsank podcast, because I want to help others heal as well. Healing can be such a struggle. And when you go through trauma, you can be put in such a dark place mentally. And it's so hard to know what to do and how to cope with all the insane feelings that you have after experiencing abuse or any form of trauma. And that is why I want to start this company and this podcast, is to extend a hand and reach out to anyone that's struggling and to anyone that feels like they don't know what to do and how to heal after experiencing trauma. So I want the podcast to be a open space and a healing space where people can go to gain resources and information and anything that they need to start their healing journey, to continue their healing journey, just really anything that anyone needs. And to let you guys know that we're all in this together and that you guys are not alone, and I'm in this with you, and you guys are here for each other. And let's build this community together. Let's heal together. Let's show each other that we're not alone. Yeah, I'm really excited about this journey. Um, I want to have therapists on the podcast, healers. Um, let's talk about different modes of healing because everyone heals differently. And I just want to extend a hand to you guys and let you know that you are not alone and help you guys in any way that I can. So, yeah, feel free to share your stories if you want to be on the podcast. Definitely let me know. Message me on Instagram or email me. Just anything you can do. Just let me know what I can do to help you guys and to ensure that we are all moving forward together, because that's what this is about. And just know that you are not your trauma and you are not what happened to you, and that healing is possible, and you guys got this. Yeah. Stay tuned for more episodes of the podcast, and you can find us on Instagram at unsank.pod and unsank.co, on Twitter at unsank_co, and at unsanko.com. So I will see you all very soon. I love you guys so much. Thank you all for being here, and stay unsank. Thank you for joining us on this amazing episode of Unsank Pod. I hope that you found inspiration, healing, and the courage to rise above the waves of life. To stay connected and receive updates on future episodes, follow us on Instagram at unsank.co and unsank.pod. You can also find us on Facebook and Twitter at unsank_co. For additional resources and information, visit our website at unsankco.com. You can also find our episodes on popular podcast platforms such as Apple, Spotify, Amazon, Stitcher, and many more. Before we part ways, I want to extend my deepest gratitude to all of you who have shared your time with us. Your openness and willingness to explore the path to healing have made this podcast truly special. Keep healing, keep growing, and keep spreading the light to those around you. Take care, and remember to stay unsank.